Welcome to Commanders Daily, everybody. I'm Bob Matthews. Delighted to have you with us. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss a day of our coverage. Training camp has wrapped up for another day. Commanders are going to be off today, Tuesday, as it's a travel day. They're headed on up to Foxborough for a joint practice with the Patriots on Wednesday. Thursday, they will have a walkthrough, and then Friday night, 7:30, they kick off the preseason against New England. Hard to believe that it is already here. Really interesting if you listen to some of the reports coming out at training camp. And I was really struck by an interview that our good friend J.P. Finley had with David Aldridge earlier on Monday. When you listen to the way these beat reporters talk, you have to be extremely positive and optimistic about the season. Now, again, I understand, these guys are on the beat every day, which means they are pretty close to the situation. Sometimes you could think maybe a little too close, but the guys that I listen to and the guys that I respect, the serious guys out there doing serious stuff, it really strikes me as how there is such a difference in tone this year compared to years past. It's not been a maybe this happens and maybe that works out. What you are hearing about what they are seeing on the practice field, despite the fact that they're just going up against themselves, it's not, it is what it is. You have to recognize how much different the tone is this year. The way they talk about Jaden Daniels, who has picked right up where he left off last year, really has to make you think that JD5 is a legit superstar who is going to follow in the mold of a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. It's just the only way you can read that. Some of the other guys that they say are looking really, really good, they're completely psyched about the way Laramie Tunstall, the Commanders' new left tackle, has looked in training camp. And keep your eye on Jalen Lane, who just continues to impress day after day after day. He's starting to get some work with the ones and is really, really, he's jumping off the page. He's one of those guys that the beat guys are seeing every day are making plays. As I think Brian Mitchell said earlier this week, just show me a couple of times a day exactly why it is that drafted you. And that's what he's been doing. Javon Kinlaw is another guy, a free agent pickup for Adam Peters, who has just impressed this year. And you can really see what the front office has tried to do with this roster building and getting bigger up front. You're seeing that really, come to fruition. Another guy that they say has really impressed, and it's really going to be interesting to see how he looks in the game Friday night, Ja'Cory Croxy Merritt, or as he is now known by everybody on the team, Bill. Bill has looked really good. They have been marveling. Everybody's been marveling at the fact that he can make one cut and then explode through the line and turn what looks like no gain into a really big gain. And he does that with a combination of both speed and size. So there are tons of guys out there, new guys on this roster that are making an impact and catching these guys' attention. And that is something different than we have seen for the last few years. So keep an eye on it. If you want to, I know a lot of you out there maybe are a little, wary of buying into the hype. I think the hype this time is real, and it's going to be very, very interesting, I think, once the season starts. With all of the news, with all of the, good moves, though, that the front office has made, I know you're wondering why haven't they just met Terry McLaurin at the $30 million mark and gotten this thing over with. Talking to some of my friends up there on the beat, and one of the things they're saying is, there's what you hear on the air. Again, this is still content season, and what is maybe going on behind the scenes. And while obviously, you would rather have McLaurin in camp than not, and it has taken too long, there still really isn't a sense that this thing isn't going to get done. And I know Chris Canty had put Adam Peters on blast over the weekend, and Dan Orlovsky had put Adam Peters on blast over the weekend. But you got to remember, those guys on those national shows have got to have something to talk about. Yeah, is it an issue that Terry's still not in camp? Yeah, but when you look at things, this is just the natural business cycle these days of how deals like this get done. Now, this is a big week. You really need for these two sides to go and hammer out a deal because you really want McLaurin to be in camp next week if possible. Second preseason game, you've got the joint practice with the Ravens, a little bit of time on the field, maybe in week 2 of the preseason. And then after that, they shut down, the starters do, until week 1 of the regular season. So if Terry's going to get any work in, it's going to be next week, which means that the deal really has to get done this week. Let's hope that it does, because it's really been the only thing this offseason that's been anything, resembling a hiccup in the operation of the team. One of the things, obviously, that happened late last week, late Friday afternoon, we got the word the stadium vote passed the D.C. Council with 9 yes votes, which means it's pretty much all but a formality. The Commanders are coming back to D.C. There has to be one more vote to finalize this thing in September. Once that happens, I think you're going to see shovels in the ground by the first of next year. A huge win for Mayor Muriel Bowser, getting the Commanders back to RFK Stadium. And let's face it, what are we all thinking? What were we all thinking when we heard that vote? Man, hallelujah, the Redskins are coming back to RFK, and that's what's going to happen in about 4 years, thanks to this vote. Good work on all sides. They got it done. The Commanders management, made them an offer they couldn't refuse with, a lot of the community involvement money. And so, like I said, one final vote in September, and then it's on to groundbreaking, which ought to be either the end of this year or the beginning of next year, if not sooner. All right, let's hit the mailbag. As always, we appreciate all of the comments that we get from you guys. And, keep them coming. If you want to comment, please drop one. Drop one there in the comments section. Hey, shout out to Lonnie Boss 70 who said classy and Philly in the same sentence don't go together. Hashtag HTTC. Fully agree with you on that one, my friend. So thank you very much for that. Did have some comments about Terry as well. As we kind of expected that we would. Let's see. At John Sturry AF 8286, why don't they just pay him instead of rocking the boat? This team is like right there on the verge of being Super Bowl champions, and then this happens. Always something, HTTR. Again, John A., thank you for the comment. B, it's, this is the way business, unfortunately, is done in the NFL these days. Best thing I can tell you, just don't stress about it, because I really do think that it's going to work out. Nobody on the team is stressing about this at all. Dan Quinn was even asked about it the other day, said, hey, this is the way that business is done in the NFL. We're talking to Terry. He's there he's in the wide receivers room every day, doing all the off-the-field work that he can do. It's one of the reasons they put him on the PUP list. I am Tooth the Walrus. It says, Terry makes $23 million in a year, is whining about it. Poor baby. Dude is 30 years old, on the PUP list for a bad ankle, only getting slower and more injured from here on out. Trade him if there's any team seriously interested. I got to say, I don't think that the ankle, I think that's kind of like, Rodney Dangerfield and Caddyshack. Oh, my arm, I think it's broken. I seriously don't think there's anything wrong with his ankle. That was just a way to get on the PUP list. Again, it's all about playing the cards. It seems like all the cards have been played now, so let's just see if they get a deal done this week. Would not surprise me if that happened. And yeah, I know I've said that for a couple of weeks now. All right, that's going to do it for us. Don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss a day of it, and drop a comment if you would like. We will see you again tomorrow. Remember, like the wise man once said, if you're on your bike tonight, as always, do wear white.